All right, then. I'm David,
And I'm Scott.
and we are Detox.
We've done this a few times now, huh?
Yeah, I think this is our fifth.
Can we kind of start with some, what do they start with? What's kind of the term? Just start with casual conversation. There's
Yeah.
like a term for that, but I had a busy week.
Hmm.
We we've been on sabbatical for a little bit here since our previous podcast because I had a child. So David and Colton have been super patient with me, and I appreciate them. So
But
huge shout out.
the patient
David
was
Holden.
just about to end.
Yeah,
No.
that's true. The patience was running thin because we were out of episodes. So this is needed.
Mm-hmm.
This is needed.
And as always, we want to thank our Commando-in-Chief,
Hmm.
the one, the only Colton,
Thank you.
for setting this up every time.
That's true. He does a lot of work, and I don't know what he really does, but it's a lot. There's a lot of cords running and electricity flowing, and
I just look pretty.
that is also true.
I think it's just magic.
Face for
It
radio.
might be magic.
Like, there's been, 1 or 2 weeks where things were all plugged in and it didn't work.
Yeah, that was the worst.
And then suddenly it worked. It's just,
It's magic.
he's our magician.
That's true.
I hit the power button. It's the worst.
Well, kind of one thing I want to talk about before we get started.
Okay.
Just for our listeners, I would say viewers, but you can't really see us yet. Hopefully in the future. But what we do is we look at topics and see, what we enjoy, what hopefully you'll enjoy. And I just want to clear up that we won't get everything perfect. We don't know everything. And even like something I caught myself doing is I used the same example twice and I didn't even know.
Oh, really?
It was about like the Instagram thing, and that bothered me. I was like, I didn't want to use the same example about someone twice. And it was a matter of I just forgot I used it. So there's going to be mistakes like that happening. My memory's not perfect. I don't know anyone's whose is. But like our whole kind of thing with this is to grow, to make each episode better, and hopefully the next season even better, and just kind of just improve. And we want our viewers, our listeners to improve with it. Is just something that was going through my mind because the topic we're going to go through today has so many different angles, so many different thoughts behind it, and we are kind of limited in how we can approach it, what research we could have done, but it's one of those things that it's like, why are you even doing it then? Well, I think it's cool to talk about.
We might be wading into waters that are going to drown us, but it's going to be worth it, I think.
And the way I see it is, in some senses, we've already done that. Talking about...
Oh, yeah.
And people want to talk about, hey, if you're not an expert in psychology or something, how can you talk about lying or mob mentality? Well, my big thought on it too is we are people as well, and we experience these things on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that's what we're coming from, is talking of what we experience, and hopefully you do too. I'm just kind of semi-normal guy working 2 jobs trying to make a living. There's a lot of us out there. And you got a family.
Oh, yeah.
Just working basically 2 jobs as well. That's what you're doing
true.
as well.
Yeah.
Colton, you got everything going on. You went through a tough job, finding hopefully victory in the current one. Like, we're all coming from these angles that other people have experienced. And I don't know, I think being flawless is not something we want to be. So it's just something that went through my mind before we go through this.
That's a good point.
I hope that we continue to grow. Any mistakes that we make, I don't want to have to retract everything every other video. Otherwise, we're going to be like, yeah, man, episode 3, I didn't mean to say this, and this. I just think, kind of like, what is it? The show must go on.
Oh, yeah.
We just move forward, and I don't know, we all become better.
Sure. Yeah. That's well said. Well said. I am looking at this project. I call it a project. I'm looking at this less like I offer any insight to help people, even though I think we do. But I'm looking at it less like that and more like, you know what, we're getting together, we're talking about this, and if people want to listen to our thoughts, then great. You know, but we don't claim to be experts in any field that we're talking about.
Not even in being human.
No, we're still figuring that out. So we screw up on that, especially me on a daily basis. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, kind of the topic that it's been, we developed kind of a list of things we want to talk about. And one that came to my mind, funny enough, just because of kind of wanting a pet specifically, is just the fact that we are, no matter what you believe in, I happen to believe that God created everything, but if you believe in the Bang, whatever it is, that there's one substantial form of creation, like one thing that made us all here. And it all kind of helps us coexist. And what brought me to that is, have you ever heard of bioactive setups for like lizards or different things like that?
Fill me in.
So I'm not even a huge fan of lizards in particular. It's just this concept to me is mind-blowing. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I want one just for this setup. So what you do is you'll get your lizard, and then you get dirt, and you can get different sorts of volcanic rock in there for minerals.
Sure.
Live plants, eventually running water, if you can, do that as well.
Yeah.
And a cleanup crew, which is generally roly-polies and other insects.
The cleanup crew.
Yeah, and so what'll happen is all you literally need to do for that tank after you have this set up is just feed your lizard, and their poop, their piss, whatever the cleanup crew will use, the plants will use, and you develop a cycle. And the running water the plants will use as well, and it's literally self-sustaining. And if you're worried about mold growing in there from the humidity, the cleanup crew, the insects, will clean that up and literally eat the mold.
No way.
So it's just this constant, almost, I don't want to call it a utopia, but it's this mini world you created that's self-sustaining other than you giving it food. And that picture made me think, holy crap, like our world is that.
Yeah.
And looking into this topic, you can go into just astrology. You can go into DNA, genetics as a whole. You can go into bone structures in certain people. There's so many different varieties of it.
Yeah.
And a really cool part was just like how everything's able to survive. If we were 50 feet off our axis, then what we should gone. The environment would not be where it's at. And I think how many things are either decaying or losing life for other life to continue.
Or I like the lizard aquarium illustration. What'd you call it? The bio.
It's a bioactive setup.
Bioactive setup, and if one thing is out of balance, like it throws that whole system into chaos. Like if you don't have enough of the cleanup crew, I'm sure over time they're not going to be able to catch up, and they're just gonna.
The plants can, or if the plants overgrow, or if the water's too much, then the plants could drown. So the lizard can't. There's so many things that can go wrong if you don't have it set up properly.
That's insane.
And it's a cool. I don't know. It was a really cool concept, and again, just kind of want it for that. Like, how cool would it be to have your own little world in your house, like just to look at.
That would be awesome.
So it's just, I don't know. That was a huge point to it, and another part with this that we talked about a little earlier about was, people go from those different ways to seeing how there's one kind of there's one source that we all come from, is just how societies work as a whole. Even points to it. Something that I've told you and I've told a couple of my friends is people will say, learn your history, otherwise it repeats itself. Yeah. I hate that expression so much.
What?
And my big reason is it doesn't matter how much you know. Not that it doesn't matter. It does matter how much you know, but regardless, history will repeat itself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
we have different concepts and ways that people will just dive in, and they're just gonna redo it. They're gonna be like, well, what if we do this, but we do it in summer as well? And it's like, if you start a riot in summer versus winter, it's still a riot. Like,
Yeah.
like
It's gonna turn out the same.
It's gonna turn out the same. People and
I've never heard that expression. You start a riot in the winter.
Well, I was just trying to think of an example, and that's,
it made sense. It was just riots. Okay.
yeah. I mean, like, if whatever you do like that, like, people just will repeat itself. I mean, how many governments have had too much power and taken over people, and how many revolts have come through? Like, that's constant through history, and you'd think we'd learn as civilizations and as people, you know, that knowledge passed down generation to generation, but we're kind of like bound to that. And I just thought it's crazy. So we can dive in any of kind of those individual parts, but
let me maybe this is not the best route to take, but let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like a lot of examples like bone structures and astrology, and can you give us the quick rundown what you found in your research, all those fields, like what?
So I'm gonna put it like as simple as possible, because you know, like I talked before, I don't know everything.
Sure.
I'll even be as bold as someone who's spent their whole life studying this stuff doesn't know everything. But let's take astrology.
Okay.
A huge part is kind of more the locations of everything, the distances. Having that be happenstance and just, this happened on a whim, it to me is crazy. That takes way more faith to believe in that. Whereas I believe that it was all set in course by God.
Yeah.
And, the Earth's location, even the moon's location, different stars that are way bigger than the sun, if they were closer, how that would affect everything.
Just a real quick clarification. You said astrology.
Yeah.
Astronomy.
Oh my gosh.
Astrology is the signs. I was like, that sounded wrong.
Okay, all right. Mistakes happen. This is real right here. Like, it's happening as we speak. Astronomy.
What is the difference?
Astrology is like the Leo, the Virgo, the horoscopes, and
but they both. I mean, they both have to do with like signs in the sky.
Yeah, but
right?
Astronomy is like
one's more science, one's hippie.
Yeah.
More science.
Just a roast.
Whoa.
But that was my mistake.
I gotcha.
So we'll keep moving. Astronomy. So like if everything with it. Jeez.
Which astrology is based on, right? Come on.
To an extent. But
astrology is based on astronomy,
right?
Kind of.
Loosely.
Vaguely. Yeah. It's like a fortune cookie for astronomy, you know?
Yes. You can't take it seriously.
You open it up and it's the most generic state. You are breathing. You will breathe tomorrow.
But anyways, let's continue. Astronomy.
Okay.
We fixed it. No edits. We just fixed it.
Astronomy.
Man, that feels wonderful.
Nice. Dude, we're real, We're going to screw up sometimes, and that's okay.
But where I was going with it is just the placement of everything.
Just like if we're like 2 inches closer to the sun, like we will...
And not even... Because that's a lot of example. Even the one I used earlier is just our placement. But even if other placements of other stars and galaxies were off... You'd have meteors that can hit a lot more. You'd have temperatures going whack. You'd have different things like that just going all over the place. And how much of that is out of our control. And, we can't move any of that.
Or even the size of this rock that we live on, giving us the perfect life-giving environment, like gravity,
Well, physics as a whole.
It'd be terrible if I was like...
Physics is nuts.
And I mean, you look at all those different things and how they, just in astronomy, how they come together. Like there's... It's almost like a puzzle. It all just fits right in. And if one piece was off, everything would just collapse. And so that's astronomy. And then if you look at DNA and genetics, what I find really cool is how everything has similarities across the board. Like when a lot of them pointed out how we have like the big 3 that we're apparently similar to in genetics are rats, primates and bananas. Those are like the big...
Our DNA?
Yeah, our DNA is very similar to. And a lot of people will point that as, oh, we come from this and this. And I feel like the banana throws that all out of whack.
Sure.
Like, no one comes from banana.
Come on.
And so I just find that very, how can you explain one but the similarities to the other?
Yeah.
And one thing I mentioned to you is I see genetics and different things like that as, I call it the Dr. Seuss theory or whatever.
I like that.
That's what I'm gonna, that's what I'll call it is, and the reason for that is you look at a Dr. Seuss book, everything has that similar art style.
Yeah, like it's a Dr. Seuss book.
It comes from one place, and I see with how we're created, with even down to the genes, to even like our manners or mannerisms, how almost all mammals eat, digest, poop. Like that's just how we function as mammals, and I see that as like God clearly had a design. Or you look at fish, you don't see a fish looking like us, just like walking around. It's like whether you believe in mermaids or not, whatever, you don't see it. Like you don't see a fish like us with that mobility. They're all narrow, forward facing, to be as aerodynamic as possible. And the ones that aren't are like the more tactical. And even then, like an octopus who isn't narrow faced like that, guess what? When they want to swim away fast, that's how they form their body.
Right.
So I just see that cool dynamic there. And I think, what was the other one? So there was
bone structure.
Yeah, bone structure. I think it was like whales, humans, and like some other animals actually have similar bone structures on their hands. If you look at like bone structures of specific animals, like what is it? Meat eaters versus vegetarians.
Really?
They have specific ways their teeth are, and different things like that, and it's really cool. Like deer's teeth compared to a wolf's teeth, obviously different.
Yeah.
And how many animals like that you can tell their diets, just because of where their bones are, how it's shaped.
Yeah.
I see that as one, again, Dr. Seuss, just that one big art piece. And what brought me to this was the bioactive setup, and I found that nuts because I just researched that, and I was like, holy cow. Where do we expand from that? Like, how is our Earth the same? And, we've already been pretty open with what we believe. And I've been doing my best to listen to the Bible more while I work. I get headphones in the morning and just seeing, like, how that creation came to be. And, again, with the humanity, we just, whatever mistakes you look at the Bible, you're like, we'd never do that. And we do that on a daily basis, and just seeing that repetition even in our own lives, I don't know, it's hard for me to believe that there wasn't something there, and
some beginning,
and I see this everywhere. Like one of the biggest ones was, I was looking at, I like to look at different perspectives.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there. Let me try to find their names real quick. There's people out there that believe, that evolution and stuff isn't real, but also God isn't real. And what they've landed on is it's called the simulation theory. It started by Rene Descartes and Hans, I think it's Moravec.
Okay.
They believe that we're all in a program, kind of like the Matrix. And they started that theory, and it's researched by some other people as well. And I just found that nuts. So, like, even when you deny everything, you still come back to it. Like, you still come back to, there's got to be something else. Like, they've denied everything, and then they still got back to, like, that program theory. The more I looked into it, I'm like, you're just replacing God with technology. Like,
that's true, yeah.
It's the same end result.
Right.
That we're not in control.
Even if you're in a simulation, like, you have to go out, like, where did the simulation come from?
And,
like, you
and
just
someone had to create it.
Yeah.
So it keeps cycling back to that, no matter how much you try to look around.
That's true.
And I found that really cool, because I thought, maybe this is the topic, at least when I've seen it through a lot of pastors, they just use the Bible, or they just use one segment of it. Like astronomy is super common. Because if you zoom out certain spots, you'll see like an eye with how like certain planets are formed, and they're like, oh, this, and that. But I think there's so many more like areas you can dig into.
Oh, for sure.
And so I just found that, I don't know. That's
And
kind of my overall of where I was looking into these.
Like, while you were talking, I was trying to, focus the direction we're taking this. And at the beginning, it seemed like you wanted to take this in a very generic direction. Like, there is a unified cause, in creation. There is whether it's a creator or, at the beginning, obviously, people know where we stand, or you will. Yeah. But like, there is a cause to all of this. But the more evidence you give me, and this could be my belief in God or just my background, but the more evidence you give me, the more I think all of this suggests not only is there one creator, but an intelligent creator who created with intention, with design, with careful design. It wasn't just happenstance. Mm-hmm. It didn't just explode into existence. At least that's what I'm getting from some of this evidence that you're laying out.
It was the biggest thing from that I pulled from all this was just that I don't know, I struggle with depression a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot of it. And finding purpose is a huge part of it. Like, what do you do day in and day out? And this as a whole just shows there is purpose to just everything on this planet. We've heard, hey, even God cares about the birds, everything like that. When you read into it. And then how much more does he care if he's going to place things specifically for us to survive? If to astronomy, if we were off by a little bit, we wouldn't be able to survive like we do. We wouldn't be able to continue on like we do and learn. And I found that so cool. And this topic shows me I don't know anything. And more than that, like, there's people that spend 80, 90 years of their life, sometimes less, but just in topics like these.
Yeah.
Who are doctors who spend their whole life researching, who are, whether they're mechanics, and they still don't know everything about that topic. You can spend your whole lifetime into one thing and not know it. And I think it's just so cool because it made everything so expansive. And I don't know, it had to be brought in by one unit, one God, that source. And I don't know, finding purpose was just, it's pretty cool to look into.
and for the record, there are much smarter people out there who have done work, and it's worthwhile to check out.
I'm not saying that it's not.
Yeah.
It's more in the lines of, never, like, if you think you know too much about that topic, you don't. There's still things you can learn, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't think of any examples off the top, but whatever it is, like, I guess I went to college to try to be a pastor. Didn't work out. But in those moments, I thought I knew everything about those, what I was studying, what I was looking into. I was far from it, like miles behind. And we get in that mindset that we got it all down. And this, I don't know, to me, it brings it that we don't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is true.
I feel semi-exhausted after explaining it all.
I'm sorry to make you do all the
it was
legwork.
It's because it's early.
We
do this too early.
What thoughts do you have on this, Colton?
I don't know. It's crazy because ironically enough, I'm hitting my microphones. I didn't know that we were having this topic this week because I just kind of forget what we plan. I just bring the equipment. But ironically enough, I had this conversation with a couple people this week, just kind of like why the world is, like why it just does. And it's been interesting to get people's take, just kind of oh, it just happened, or I had like the flat Earth theory. I'm somebody staunchly believes that is true, and I'm just that hurts.
We're a frisbee flowing through space.
Oh, frisbees! I can't stand it. That one, no logic. But it's crazy yet to think. I don't think you can look at it and then go, it's circumstance. Like there's no other area of life that you can have this much stuff and go, it happened by chance.
Like, that's a good point.
Yeah, like somebody's argument will be, well, it has to happen once because it's so long. Like there was, you give an infinite amount of time, you have an infinite amount of chances for that to happen. But like, it's just not plausible.
Yep.
Not only for it to happen, but to last as long as it has.
Yeah, to happen perfectly.
Yeah.
Like 50, I don't know, you said 50 feet, I don't know how that works.
Well, I was just saying, like, just off.
But like, just off. Like, everything would
right?
crumble, bumble.
Like, even if you turn the Earth's, on its side compared to where it is now, like, what would that do?
It's crazy.
That would just ruin everything.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very, very, very thankful it turned out the way it did.
So not only all across this world we live in, this universe we exist in, is there evidence that points to a cause, a beginning. It points to a very intelligent, purposeful beginning. I don't want to shove my belief system down anyone's throat, but like...
I don't think you are. You can say it.
I do think it takes more faith to say that it was chance and it just happened out of nothing just like you said, just because it has to happen. And like, that's, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't want to put down anybody that does that.
Right.
I would love to I love to talk to people who have that idea, because I love to bounce the idea off and get people's perspective. So I don't want to make people feel bad if they think that. It's just interesting to me to be like, it happened by chance.
I guess even if you believe in a flat Earth, we still love you, right?
Yeah, we do.
Not as much, but we do. No. I think the biggest part from this is, like, we're each growing as individuals,
for sure,
and we hope to grow with other people too.
Yeah,
and if you have different ideals, different beliefs, like, the whole point is, I think it's cool to see how you got there, to let you know how I got there.
Yeah,
the kind of that back and forth. Like, what brought me here was just studying different things. Like, there's people who believe in evolution and God. Like, God created evolution. Mm-hmm. There's people who believe in, again, that program theory. There's people who believe we have a flat Earth. There's a lot going on.
Pastafarians.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot going on. I don't, like I said, I don't know enough. And a lot of it is, I look at, what the Bible says towards this, and then I look at kind of the evidence afterwards. Because I don't want to blindly follow without seeing, like, hey, at least where we're going. Because what we're doing in these circumstances is you're asking a finite answer for infinite questions. And that's nuts.
Yeah. Like,
that's really hard for our minds to wrap. Like, we can't even wrap our minds around eternity or what came before us. Like, what came before Earth, what comes after. Can't even, that.
Just the concept of nothing alone is something we can't imagine.
Or if you ever try to think about yourself, but before you're born, you're going to be lost. And it's like, just weird things like that. And I think no matter where we came from, it's the conversation that's really good and the growth. If it changes what you believe, hopefully it's for the better. I don't know. That's kind of my big thing. And another, like, quick example that just, while researching this, of how everything works together. Yeah. Is this, I don't know if you've ever researched any, like, ants or anything like that. There's these really cool ants and this plant that gets eaten by a lot of other beetles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But these ants will protect it because this plant secretes this kind of goop that it's like a jelly that they use for food. And so they have like this kind of mutual relationship. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is weird.
And to top it off, there's a caterpillar that secretes the same thing. But the ants will prefer the caterpillar sometimes and won't protect the tree, but they'll protect the caterpillar. And so it's just like how it's all kind of together. And I know that that's kind of jumping back to a different topic, but I want us to, I don't know, kind of look at everything that brings us all together. My words are getting worse and worse as things go on.
No.
It was just one of those things that we see all this work together, and I can't help but see purpose in it.
One thing I know people are at least going to be thinking when they listen to this, if anyone listens to this, is like in our world, there's like this idea that science and faith have to be separate and they can't
Be together,
lead to the same conclusion. And there's no togetherness in the two. But it sounds like you're saying, and I would definitely say this, but there is some overlap between science and faith, and sure, there's some gray areas, but you're comfortable just living in those unresolved gray areas. Not like you believe the world is flat or anything,
no.
But there's overlap, and they work well together, and that's not an idea that a lot of people.
It's symbiotic. I mean,
right.
The science, or at least, I mean, the Christian belief, the belief in one creator. I mean, you have to believe that he created the science. I mean, the physics of things, because that's an art, if you will. I mean, just seeing how everything works that perfectly together, I'd say that's an art. Like,
look, again, Dr. Seuss theory. That's what I'm going to
for
call
sure.
it.
Dr. Seuss theory.
It's just seeing that, and
Patent it. Get
I
a
think
quarter.
it's hard to for me it's hard to separate the whole God part and science.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's really hard to put them together.
Yeah.
Because didn't he create it? So it's really hard for me to separate those things. Yeah. I think they point, and that's why, like I gave an example, like the ant, the bioactive setup is just, there's so many things that come together.
Yes.
That I see it as evidence, and again, people they always come back to it. It's something I've noticed, and all this researching, like of whether they believe in God or not, they always come back to a source. There's always one source, one thing that just, it happened.
Yeah.
And some people that don't believe in the Big Bang will believe different chemicals came together, and then those formed, and it just kind of like bubbled up. So it's a big blob, and like there's just always got to be a big something.
A big something.
But then people ask, like, how were those blobs created? How did that happen? And how did those particles hit and blew up and created all this? Like, how did that? When you ask the questions of how, it goes even like deeper. And I feel Christianity is one of the few ones where it's just like, it is. It's like, how it is.
I wonder why. I wonder why we're so adamant about getting those questions answered. You know, is it because
I think as humans we want the answers to, well, I mean, kind of like what David said earlier. Like we want a sense of purpose, because without a sense of purpose, like we're living life day to day, kind of just doing things, and eventually you experience all you want to, quote unquote, want to, and then you're just like, why? And like, as a person who also, like, depression is really prevalent, like I get caught up in that. Like, do I really need to do this? Like, it doesn't really matter. Do I need to do the dishes? My wife will slap me if I ever say that. I will absolutely do the dishes. But it's like, you know, you want purpose in things. And I feel like that's why people Ask the questions.
We're just created with this hunger.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we always improve. Very few societies are content with what they have.
Oh yeah,
They always want to look for the next best thing. They want to look to, even if it's not in technology, how do we improve our rules, our guidelines? You know, if you look at more primitive ones, their hunting, their methods, you know, they're not always going to be better, but they're going to try to improve in the future compared to the past.
Yeah.
So there's that longing for more, and I see this as the ultimate more. You know, like it's seeing what we've improved on and looking back and seeing where it came from. And just, man, there's so much there.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
I do like
description.
That. So and like I said, it goes from a lot of different topics.
Yeah.
My biggest suggestion, you know, if people are curious in this, is to look into those individual. You can look in astrology. I wouldn't suggest it. But astronomy would be really good to look into. And DNA, my biggest thing with it that kind of annoyed me is there's so much agenda pushing in it. So finding DNA research that's just genuine. And what I mean by agenda pushing, there's a lot of we came from this, we came from that, without actually going into DNA to begin with. And it's really annoying reading a 25-page article that doesn't get into how DNA works until the 18th, 19th page. It's really frustrating. So finding those that actually go into the topic as a whole, I think that's really beneficial. And kind of just looking at different, again, bone structures are really cool to look into. And I don't know, if this makes you want to get a lizard, get a bioactive setup.
Just don't eat. Just don't eat the lizard,
unless it's tasty.
Well, no, I did see a news article, I think this week, about
someone ate a lizard.
Someone ate a live lizard.
Live lizard. That's the first problem.
They were dared by a group of friends, and this guy was hospitalized and eventually died because he rotted from the inside. So.
Yeah.
Don't eat lizards.
You got frog legs. Just do that instead.
Yeah.
Eat something safer.
And I did want to say too, from a Christian perspective, if you want to look into this more, I know a guy by the name William Lane Craig in his ministry Reasonable Faith does a lot of work in this area. He has something, I can't even explain it to you, called the Kalam cosmological argument, and you know, there's a lot of resources out there, and we are not the go-to expert in this field, but maybe this sparks someone's interest.
If anything, just a jumping off point. And and this is one for me too. Like even though I've looked at this a couple of weeks, like I'm not done. And if anything, it's going to make me want to look into more specific for different ones.
Yeah, I feel like if anyone in the Christian faith goes, oh yeah, you know, I know it all, I'm good. I will instantly stop listening because I'll be like, yeah, no.
Well, even the topics we talked about before. You know, with looking into lying, that was still something that I'm like, still boggles my mind with how much it's involved in people.
Yeah.
You know, group think or mob mentality, seeing how much that affects people. Just all those things. Heck, even Marvel, how that never seems to end. And the directions that's going. There's just more things you can always keep looking into. And I like that. Yeah. I don't like things ending too much. But some things are good to end.
Some things have to end.
Like Parks and Rec needed to end before season 6. So some things are really good to end. But
Too soon.
Too soon?
Too soon.
I haven't even seen an episode of Parks or Rec. I'm so sorry. Also haven't finished The Office.
We'll have to talk about that in a little bit.
We will have to talk about that eventually. But I know, for me, one of the most important pieces to this podcast is the random question of the day. You know?
I got to start. I'll find implementations to have it not all the time at the end of the episode. Okay. Sometimes in the middle.
Right.
Sometimes at the end.
Maybe just randomly, like in the middle of very good conversation. Hey guys.
But it's hard to interrupt something that's.
I know.
I didn't want to interrupt anything here. I don't know. We'll see how this question goes. If it's meh, I'll ask another one. But
Okay.
do you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I have a strong opinion on this. So yes.
Sweet.
That's with Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
I think I've only seen pieces.
Okay.
Is that the one? Oh shoot! What's his name?
There's
like a
several.
cop?
I mean, there's several, but
Yeah, what's the Alan Rickman?
Yes.
Yeah, he in the first one
He's the villain.
he falls off the thingy.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm not good with actors, so.
Snape, right?
Yeah, the
From
actor
Harry
for
Potter?
Snape. He's
Okay.
the villain. In the first, I think it's.
Is
yeah.
he in that movie?
Yeah.
We're gonna look this up real fast.
But anyways, do you consider that a Christmas movie?
Oh yeah. I mean, it happens around Christmas, so it's a Christmas movie.
I don't even know
don't.
the setting, so
You
I can't
don't?
even
I
say.
do not consider it a Christmas movie.
Tell me why.
Do you consider Iron Man 3 a Christmas movie?
Absolutely.
Because that also happens around Christmas.
No.
See?
No.
So my biggest thing with is if a movie happens, or it could even come out Christmas, and if it's nothing about Christmas itself, it's not a Christmas movie. Like it's not about Santa or any of that stuff.
So
So-
Alan Rickman is in Die Hard. He is
Yes.
the villain, but
The main villain.
yeah.
I don't consider it a Christmas movie just
So
because it happens
What
during
about
Christmas.
But what Iron
about
Man?
Krampus?
What Iron Man?
Iron Man 3 also happens around Christmas.
Is there a Christmas party? Is there?
Does it have to have a Christmas party to be a Christmas movie?
Yes.
I disagree.
what about Krampus? That fits all the criteria. It's
Hold
like
on.
the
in order to be
horror
a
movie.
in order to be a Christmas movie, you need to feel the holiday spirit in the film. And
You're not gonna feel that with Die.
for the first, I think the first few minutes you do, like you're
2
in
minutes.
this,
That makes
you
it
know,
a Christmas
like,
movie.
It's the holiday spirit, and then the holiday spirit goes from joy to, oh no, we're in trouble.
Just like how Santa would have it.
Right? Come on. Die Hard's the best Christmas movie of all time.
It's a decent movie that takes place during Christmas. How's that? I probably angered,
I think
So
you
many
have.
people
You've
there,
turned
I'm
away
sorry.
so many people.
but I've also, the people in the shadows who agree, who don't speak their minds. That's what I'm here for.
There you go. Did Colton give an answer to this question?
I've never seen
he's
it.
never seen
I feel so bad because from what I understand, that's a classic.
It's a much better movie than the more recent ones.
it. It is one. I think it's the greatest Christmas movie of all time. So
I'll have to put it
you're
on the
gonna have
list.
to check it out.
I think that goes to A Christmas Story, but that's just me. Fragile,
You're
the
gonna
lamp,
I've also never seen
the
that.
beautiful lamp.
the one that you'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah.
It's a beautiful movie.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
nothing beautiful about that.
I like It's a Wonderful Life.
Is Alan Rickman in that movie? Is Bruce Willis in that movie? Do you feel the Christmas spirit?
The
No.
gun's actually named Bruce Willis. So.
How
No, it's not. But
about this? Help us settle this debate because the third chair here can't give an answer. So,
also, there is one thing. Our first video is over 120 views.
dude,
That's pretty cool.
That's
I
awesome.
Thank everyone for watching. And
I mean, I only listened to it 100 times, but still,
yeah, I listen. And what made me
that is cool.
talk about what I did in the beginning is I've listened to it's just I listen because I want to improve.
Yeah.
And there's things I do, mannerisms I have that I'm like, man, I need to work that out. So hopefully in time. But I appreciate everyone that listens. It's really nice.
Serious. Yeah.
And it's cool having different friends. Like I had a friend, I think it was last week, who was like, boxers. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, I prefer boxers.
Look at that.
And it's like, oh, that's cool. So he listened to the whole thing to get to
Yeah.
that part. And that was, I don't know. I just find that really, really neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, anything else?
I think we have exhausted at least our knowledge on this topic. So
Yeah. For now.
I'm going to have to do more study.
Yeah. And maybe this topic will come again.
Part 2 may be coming soon. So
Yeah. By soon, who knows what that means.
who knows? Next
The
season.
future. Next 5 years.
There you go.